Yes, ma'am. Yep,
All
here we
right, I'll
go.
press record. Okay. So, do we? Is there anyone who's willing and able to take notes today? Um, if not, we'll move along and we'll have the recording of the meeting. Lisa Houston said she can do it. Thank you, Lisa. Um, just a quick glance at our agenda, but we're going to jump into it since we're already like 12 minutes behind. And I know we got a couple people have a hard stop today. So just a reminder that July, let's see. So you're in the June president's meeting right now. July coming up is a joint president's meeting plus TMN Tuesday together on one day. And that's going to be our regular TMN Tuesday day on July 9th. We'll have a couple of kind of housekeeping and administrative items up front for our presidents and advisors who will be joining us that day. And then we will flow into the rest of our TMN Tuesday event. So actually one of our advisors is going to kick us off. John O'Connell is going to kick us off with that advanced training event for a plastic-free July. And we'll be talking a little bit more about what that TMN Tuesday will be in some coming slides. But to give you an idea of the rest of the meetings we have for the rest of the year for president's meetings, August through December is up there. And just a reminder that October 24th is our leadership luncheon with presidents and advisors in conjunction with the annual meeting while we're on site at the annual meeting. And then again, November and December will be joint TMN Tuesdays with president's meetings together. So next slide. We've been covering this slide several times. Not much has changed on this slide, just a reiteration of where to go to with questions that you have and what issues they have that might be coming up. I do have a big update on VMS, and you'll notice that on the VMS help desk, we have requests for new account and new training kind of crossed out for this time being. We are going into a moratorium on training for July and August, and I'll explain more as we talk about VMS updates later on. We've had a couple of questions about mostly related to the annual meeting and the cost of the annual meeting. And it just was a great time to bring up this slide again. This slide or these next couple sets of slides are actually verbatim that we've shown our chapters and presidents in the past for the past few years since actually 2020 to give you an idea of how not only the annual meeting, how it's funded, but the program in general. The Master Naturalist programs cost about $250,000 annually to administer and offer the program. We have 3 full-time employees. Now we have 3 full-time employees and then 3 to 5 part-time employees through contract work that is funded by our grant. And none of this includes chapter advisors. So chapter advisors are agency sponsored. Their time is the time of the agency, but none of it is, we're not able to support that time through the Master Naturalist funding. A large portion, in fact, all of the funding for the Master Naturalist program comes from a federal grant through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the Wildlife Restoration Program. It originates from an excise tax on firearm and ammunition sales, so PR funding is what it's called. And our grant is a grant, so we are required to match it 25%. So the funds that we receive, we're required to match it 25%, and we use our Master Naturalist service hours as match, or a small portion of the service hours as match. No actual dollars are received from Master Naturalist volunteer service hours, so it's just a match, as in-kind match towards this grant. How much the program, so just going over some of these zeros down at the bottom, the questions we commonly get: how much of the program administration is funded by donations? Absolutely nothing. It's zero. How much of the program administration is funded by chapters, and that is zero. And how much of the program administration is funded by the annual meeting, and that's absolutely nothing. So program administration and nor the annual meeting are funded by other outside sources. I'm going to go on to the next slide. So the question we often get with the funding and the program is, how is the state program keeping up with growth? And to be honest, we aren't. And you know that's a problem. When this program first started, or when I first started with this program, we had 4 chapters, about 400 volunteers. At the time we started with 2 full-time staff with Sunny Arnold in the second person's position. We had 17 chapters and 2 full-time staff. And then today we have 49 chapters and just now 3 full-time staff, with Hannah coming on board in December this past year. We actually need 5 or more full-time employees to really support our chapters and the work of your chapters and our members in the program, and with a continually growing number of support, because we're constantly growing in number of volunteers. And then just to give you an idea of growth and how we're not able to withstand that, we've even had a moratorium on new chapter development, certainly during the pandemic and the few years after that. And it's only been recently that we've been able to allow very few chapters develop within the last 2 years. You saw our Brushy Canyons chapter start up last year, and then we will likely have another chapter starting up this year. One that had started prior to the pandemic and then now is continuing, trying to kickstart their efforts again. Okay, and then I think the next slide talks about annual meeting.
Nope.
Oh, nope. So the next question after that we usually get is doesn't the federal grant cover all the expenses? And obviously, no. There's projects and expenses that we cannot use this federal funding on. So things like service and milestone pins, deposits for the annual meeting, covering unmet costs of the annual meeting, if there are any, projects and grants to chapters, fundraising and long-term program viability, sponsorships to reduce the registration costs of the annual meeting. Like, none of these things are eligible for the funding that we do have, for use of the funding that we do have for the program. Junior Master Naturalists and any other youth programming and outreach at the administration level. We just, the funding doesn't cover it, and we currently do not have funding otherwise to cover these areas. Next slide.
Yeah, so I can talk about the annual meeting and our financials surrounding the annual meeting. And one of the things that Michelle and I talked about in our want to share these slides with you is not to scare you, not to think that the program or any of these costs are in jeopardy, but just to be transparent with our chapter leadership, transparent with our chapter advisors, let y'all have these types of resources and answers for questions that may come up from your members, as they may come up as we're getting ready for this large event that will have a registration fee associated with it. That's when we see a lot of these types of questions get asked and answered. And so we want to give you guys the tools to be able to answer those questions. So the annual meeting at the end of the day is a training event. It is our opportunity to provide advanced training for you, for Master Naturalists, to also award you and recognize your service. Our annual meeting costs have increased. They've doubled in the last 3 years. In a lot of ways, that's directly tied to the increased cost of food. That is the bulk of our annual meeting cost, is our food and beverage. For our event, it's $200,000 to $250,000 event every year. Like I said, most of that is food, but it also is the lodging costs, the food, the AV costs, the setup costs, the event function space costs. As y'all are well aware, when you get into any sort of workshop or event, there's all of those extra things that get added into the budget to cover tables and extension cords and everything else. And Michelle and I go through and Hannah now go through a really extensive process of itemizing all of those and trying to source all of those things, as much as those things as we can, without having to spend generated funds off on those. Our annual meeting budget is not designed to generate a profit. It is designed to be a break-even event. If and when the annual meeting does generate a profit, we roll those costs directly into next year's conference. And we use those funds to be able to lay deposits down on next year's conference space, to be able to allocate those to event function needs for the next year's annual meeting, things like that. Travel stipends for speakers, the list for those is pretty limited. Our annual meeting funds are over allocated. We usually at this point are only able to allocate the funds for a deposit for 1 year out. We would like to be on a 2-year out schedule because event spaces are being booked quickly, but that's about where we're at right now. Our state agencies have to cover any sort of deficiencies. If registration falls through and folks aren't able to attend, then we've got contracts that we still have to pay for. We build out our contract, our registration cost that we assign to the event based off of that very tight want to keep it as a cost-even event, a break-even event. And so that's where we're always in that. Michelle and I are always stressing until that very last minute to make sure that we are covering our costs up to the very last minute, and not putting that pressure on you, our members, you, the master naturalists, because we want you to be able to attend. And we know that this event is expensive, but we're doing our hardest to make sure that we're being transparent in this and that we're keeping those registration costs accessible for as many of our members as we can. The last little note there is our silent auction is another way that we're able to generate a separate fund for the annual meeting. So the silent auction is a separate financial management from the annual meeting registration. The silent auction is a way that we can generate funds for travel scholarships for every chapter. So we will take the 80% that the silent auction generates. The host chapter gets to keep 20% because they did all the manual labor for that. And that 80% then gets split into paying for the travel scholarships that we allocate to every chapter. So last year we were able to give every chapter $100 per chapter to send one member with that $100 discount. Does that help to answer all those questions?
So far.
Okay. We're going to keep going.
There's no questions in the chat.
So Hannah, you're up.
Okay. So now on to my things. The first one, of course, is chapter templates and resources. We talked about this at our last meeting, but I'm in the process of developing some Canva templates and other resources for y'all to be able to use. It will have a link to Canva tutorials if you're new to Canva, but these will be templates. So I will be making the design, and all you need to do is click the link, open it, add in your chapter's information, and they'll be able to tailor to your chapter. So the things we have in progress are some rack cards, a brochure, some frequently asked question flyers, normal flyers for training classes, certificates, things of that nature. And these will all be housed on a website page that is also in development right now. But as last time, if you have any suggestions on things that would be beneficial for your chapter to have, please put those in the chat or email me, let me know. And I don't have a specific timeline on any of these yet. We're kind of in the review and finalizing stage for some, beginning stages for others, but y'all will get updates as they come. Then a big thank you to everyone who filled out the new member training class survey. I know it was very long and very daunting, but I greatly appreciate it. 42 of our 49 chapters completed the survey. And don't forget that we also have the speaker master list survey. And this is designed to be housed by us at the state office. And then if you need someone to cover ornithology and you can't get your normal speaker and you're wanting to see who chapters near you use, then we have those resources to be able to provide them to you. It is a one submission for one speaker survey. If you find that very tedious, I have made an Excel sheet that if you would rather fill in the Excel sheet and email that back to me, you can email me to ask for that. But this will include information such as your chapter, the speaker's name, their company and affiliation, what they teach on, notes and comments, things of that nature. And the notes and comments section is for they are willing to travel, they're not willing to travel, they like to talk a lot, so make sure they have plenty of time. Things like that, just little notes that someone might want to know when they're asking a speaker to come. And then another reminder for that, that deadline for the speaker master list is June 30th. So please get those to me by that date. And then also a reminder that we will present the results for the new member training class survey sometime at the end of summer, but then also at the annual meeting as well. And for the speaker list, those chapters listed there are the ones that I've seen that have submitted. So if you don't see your name, please go in and submit your speakers or email me for the Excel sheet. Now on the topic of training, we still have the web page for the 2024 new training class. It now has a nice fancy little icon on the front of the homepage, so it's easier to find now. You can see the little picture there that shows you where to find that. But the form is all the way at the bottom, so if you want to update for any fall trainings that your chapter has, scroll all the way to the bottom of that page and fill out that form. I get email notifications now and I check it periodically, so it should be updated within a week of getting that notification. But this is where if someone's on our state page and they know, oh, I think I'm for this chapter, let me go see if they have anything, then they can quickly find that information and then be directed to your chapter website. And so far on that page, we have 16 chapters that have fall training classes starting in August or later. So these are the chapters that have fall trainings. If you don't see your name and you do have a fall training and you would like to be on that page, then go to that web link and fill out that form. I can put that in the chat as well.
Okay, I can give this update. Our curriculum survey, y'all have seen this slide verbatim before. We are still working on our update for the second edition of the TMN statewide curriculum. As mentioned when we started this is a multi-year project, and we will keep you updated as we progress through that project. It means that we may not have periods of time for several months where we'll have updates, but we will update you guys when we have major updates in the timeline for the curriculum. We did collect a really well answered survey from a number of different members talking about the layout, the space use, the functionality of the book. And so we closed that in May. Thank you for everybody who provided your feedback. We are still collecting errata or error and updates information for the curriculum. So if you find errors, I know you've got them marked or highlighted in your book. Please send those in with that SurveyMonkey link so that we can get those things updated in the book on the second round. Okay. Michelle, you want to do this one?
Okay. So just this I brought this slide back up again. It's 6 months into the year, and we have lots of chapters celebrating some big anniversaries this year. And so we just wanted to check in and see, make sure that you are celebrating yourselves and your achievements. So what are your plans? What did you or have you celebrated, or how did you celebrate already? And then just another reminder that we will be celebrating your chapter anniversaries again at this year's annual meeting. And if you're a chapter that has had a celebration already, or if you have plans on something that you're going to do coming up yet this fall, or the remainder of the rest of the year, go ahead and drop that in the chat. And then we'll, for the essence of time, we're going to move on to the next portions of the presentation today.
Why don't you keep going on this, Michelle?
Reminder, our TMN Tuesday is coming up again, the July 9th. That is a joint TMN Tuesday and President's meeting. And I just want to point out, June 11th, this past month, we had a volunteer safety in the field session. Lots of great information, resources, and risk management things to think about came up in that session. So I encourage you, if you didn't tune in for it, to go back and watch it. And then it'll be a great resource for thinking volunteer safety in the field for years to come. And then we mentioned July is the July 9th, the joint event with TMN Tuesday and the President's meeting. It's a plastic-free July, and celebration of that is some projects that our chapters along the coast have going on for plastic to kind of join that plastic-free July idea. John O'Connell, one of our chapter advisors, who was an inventor of the monofilament recycling project, will be presenting along with, what's the other chapter? Galveston Bay, right? With their beach cleanups. So hope you can join us. And again, just a reminder, on that joint meeting, we'll have a few housekeeping items for presidents and leaders of chapters to cover at the start of that session too.
Okay, I'm going to jump into all things annual meeting, and Michelle and Hannah, stop me if there's anything in chat for the annual meeting. Some of this you guys have seen before, but it's worth saying again, and I have added quite a lot of new content into the annual meeting slides series. So hopefully there'll be some big updates for this for y'all. In our countdown timeline for the annual meeting, we are in July next week. We're already there. We will be launching our agenda early next week. It is 98% of the way, and I've got some agenda highlights that I'm going to share with you guys today. And so be on the lookout for our agenda, and our registration pricing will also launch alongside that agenda early next week. We'll then move into registration. I have some great tools and tips and tricks on registration that we're going to share today, and the process that follows, both the early registration and the standard registration. And then we'll have an update on some contests that we're getting ready to share some more information about. Oh, and then last but not least, if it's not on your calendar, it should be our TMN Tuesday, our project fair presentation in October 8th. That's when our chapters who are entering into the chapter project fair will present and showcase their projects in that contest. So in our call for proposals, that was last month's big wrap up. I say last month, in June's big wrap up, we are still in June. We had the most ever presentation proposals that we've ever received. We had 150 classroom sessions submitted and 32 field sessions. I cannot say thank you enough to the Hays County chapter and the other local surrounding chapters that participated in sending out the call for proposals to speakers in the area. I'm not going to say them all because I'm going to get them wrong. Capital Area, Guadalupe, I'm not even going to start because I just thank you for all of the local chapters that participated in getting those proposals out, those requests out. It is going to be an amazing agenda this year. I cannot wait for you guys to see it. It is jam-packed. A quick kind of skeleton agenda overview. This is on our website, but we will start the meeting officially on Thursday at 4 o'clock with registration. But there's a lot that happens before the annual meeting officially starts. We have pre-event field sessions that are happening throughout the day on Wednesday, all the way from 8 a.m. that morning. And we have pre-event field sessions that happen Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon as well. But the official meeting doesn't start until Thursday afternoon with a welcome dinner. Our chapter leadership luncheon that you are all invited to as chapter presidents and chapter advisors is sort of in that pre-event space. It's from 11:30 to 2 o'clock in the main ballroom. We'll have more information and agenda that will go out for that. But please make sure that you're marking that on your calendar to join us. I do not have final confirmation on creating that meeting as a hybrid or a virtual event. As soon as I have that from the hotel, I will send that out and confirm that for those that are not able to make the annual meeting. But at this time, we're asking that you come and you join us there for the conference. Friday is field sessions and classroom sessions with our keynote address Friday evening. Saturday is field sessions and classroom sessions with our awards dinner Saturday night. And then Sunday is our contest awards and our wrap up with a number of post-event field sessions as well. Now for some new stuff that you haven't seen yet and some agenda highlights to help get you guys amped up and ready for talking to your chapter members about going to the annual meeting. We have 7 pre-event field sessions on Wednesday, 16 pre-event field sessions on Thursday. Like I said, our registration does open at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. And then we're going to go have dinner at the Meadow Center and do glass bottom boat tours and have dinner on the lawn at the Meadow Center. And we're so excited about that. I will have lots more details about that. We are in final confirmation of all of those details with the function space and the caterers and whatnot. But more details on that. That is just a little preview for you as chapter leaders today. On Friday, we will have 14 rooms of concurrent sessions with 7 hours of action happening in each of those 14 rooms. Our keynote presentation, as I mentioned, same thing on Saturday, 14 different rooms of concurrent technical training sessions. We'll have our student science fair winners join us for lunch. If you've been to an annual meeting and you've seen these high school students get up on stage in front of 400 master naturalists and it hasn't brought you to tears, then you might have some issues with your emotional management, because I tear up every single time I hear them. It's awesome. And then we'll have Quiz Bowl, which is a regular of the conference agenda and always a lot of fun on Saturday night, wrapped up with our awards dinner and our contest awards to close out the event Sunday morning. Our lodging is currently open at the Embassy Suites San Marcos. They did have a run on rooms for Wednesday night, so we do not have Wednesday night rooms anymore in our block, but there are plenty of rooms available Thursday through Saturday night. So please make sure that you are booking your room for joining us at the conference. And then this is also new content for this set of slides that I've shared before. This is a registration flow, and I built this in mind of those members who have maybe not attended the annual meeting before or have not participated in the registration process, so that they have an idea of what to expect as we open up registration. Registration will open the first week of August. I do not have a final date and time. We always strive to be open first thing August 1st. But there are so many bits and pieces and check boxes and underscores and all the things that happen in our registration system. So I cannot guarantee a final date and time, just to say it will be open the first week of August. We will simultaneously on Facebook, Instagram, and the listserv send out a blast to let everybody know that registration is open. So if your members are not on the listserv, are not following us on Instagram or Facebook, now is the time to make sure that they get signed up for those avenues of communication if they want to stay in touch for registration. Registration does not fill up fast in the terms of the number of people that can attend, but session registration fills up fast. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Our registration types, we have 3 different registration types. We have full conference registration, which means that you are registered for the entirety of the event, all the way from Wednesday pre-event to Sunday post-event field sessions. Pre-event, yeah, all the way through Sunday. It includes all the meals, includes all of the sessions, all of the conference events. If you're not able to take that amount of time to join us, we do have the ability for 2-day conference registration. That this year is just Friday and Saturday. Those are the main 2 full days of the conference, or 1-day registration, and that is just Friday or just Saturday. Those 2-day type registrations include the meals and the sessions for just that day. None of the pre-event, none of the post-event, just the field and classroom and meals for those days that you've selected. We will also have a guest meals option again this year. If you've got a spouse, a sibling, a significant other, somebody that wants to join us in San Marcos, but doesn't want to attend the sessions, just wants to join us for the meals, that guest meal option will be available again this year. As a reminder, we will have early registration all the way from that first week in August until August 31st. And then standard registration, there will be a price increase between the early registration and the standard registration. That price increase is still TBA, but there will be a price increase after September 1st. And then the registration process. If you have not registered for the annual meeting before, it can be a little frustrating. It is a pretty lengthy registration, but that is on purpose. It is our only chance to gather all of this information and to make sure that we have everything set up for you as attendees when you join us at the conference. So the first page is your name, your contact information, your dietary restrictions, kind of standard conference registration information. The second page is your registration type. Those are those 3 that I listed up above. Once you select which registration type, that third page, the sessions registration, will only show you those sessions that you've selected to be able to attend. So if you select 1 day, Saturday, you're only going to get to register for Saturday's sessions. I hope that makes sense. If you've selected full conference as your registration type, you get to register for everything, or you get to select a registration for everything. Our sessions registration page is optional, but encouraged. It is your chance to guarantee a seat in a classroom or on a field session. Field sessions have a limited capacity, many of them in a capacity range of 8 to 10, some of them up to 30 or so. That's because, as I know y'all are familiar, 50 master naturalists tromping down the trail does not make great for a birding site tour. So we do try to limit those to smaller capacity groups to be able to encourage a better educational environment for those field sessions. So your session registration, you are pre-registering for a classroom or a field session, and it will guarantee you a seat in that class. The system will not let you register for conflicting times. It'll let you select it, but it won't let you go to the next page. It'll say error, error, error. And that's when I get phone calls. And then they'll say, Mary Pearl, what's happening? And the system will not let you, Carolyn, say that you want to go to the 8 o'clock session and the 8 o'clock field trip at the same time, because it knows you can't do that. So that is the biggest headache of registration. So please plan for that. That's why we put the agenda out a month in advance. Ask your members to go through the agenda, highlight what they want to attend, select plan A's and plan B's, go through that agenda and make a plan for what they want to attend. You can always go back and modify your registration too. You can always go back and say, you know what, I really don't want to go on this 30-mile hike. We don't have one of those, but if we did, you can change your mind later and go back in and adjust your agenda if you want to. But doing it at the beginning helps to make sure, again, that you guarantee a seat in that class. 2 more pages to close out. Optional items. We've got a series of different optional items that we throw in there every year. And then the checkout page. So it is a 5-page process to get registered for the conference. I realize that's lengthy. I realize that's a pain in the butt. But again, it is our only chance to get all of the information that we need, make sure that we've got everything set up for you when you come down to San Marcos in October. Okay, that was a lot. Michelle, what did I miss?
Not a thing.
Okay, that was a lot.
I was almost texting you. We need to move on.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Keep going. Silent auction. Our silent auction host, the Hays County chapter, has their information up. I will be sending out an e-blast to all chapters about the silent auction and their request for donation items for that. So please start thinking, looking around your house, looking around your chapter's area for some silent auction items that you can help to donate. This is a great way to buy items for your Christmas list, to get ready for holidays or for chapter functions that may be coming up. Find some great auction items to buy. Item drop-off will be Thursday afternoon. The auction will open Saturday and will close Saturday evening. We'll open Friday and we'll close Saturday evening. I'm going to go through these really fast. You guys have seen all of this stuff already. It's all on our website as well. Hannah's already dropped the link in the chat. But our contests, we have 4 contests and awards: chapter advisor, chapter project fair, video contest, photo art and media. Photo art and media contest rules are not on the website yet. I have that on. It's been on my list for 2 weeks and it will get done this week. So I will send an e-blast when the photo art and media contest rules are officially on the website. So chapter advisor, please start thinking of those chapter advisors that you want to recognize and award this year. Chapter project fair, please start thinking of projects that you want to award and recognize in your chapter this year. We're also seeking judges. So if your chapter is not entering into the project fair and you want to volunteer to be a judge, reach out to Michelle for that. Chapter video contest, as you guys are out and about in this climate right now and you're taking videos of your chapter members doing great things, think about putting together a 1 to 3 minute video and submitting that into our chapter video contest. And then last but not least, our photo, video, and art contest, photo, art, and media contest. I do promise to have the rules up on the website by the end of the week.
And right now is a really great time to be preparing your chapter's nominations for many of these awards. So we haven't received any to date, so it gives you an idea of how well you could compete.
Exactly.
For the photo contest, you might have noticed that a lot of our 2023 submissions have been featured on our program's social media. So anything that you enter in 2024, you might get to see it posted after the event. So keep that in mind. Fun little perk.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to keep going and I'm not going to slow down. Just holler at me if I need to stop. Sponsorships. Thank you to all of our chapters who have contributed to the annual meeting. All the sponsorship dollars help us to lower registration and provide additional resources at the annual meeting. So thank you for those that have opted to be a sponsor for the annual meeting. And we'll be highlighting on our social media channels the other organizations and conservation programs that have also joined us as sponsors for this year's conference. Hannah's been doing a fantastic job working on those social media campaigns, as well as our vendors. We've got some really cool vendors this year. I can't wait for y'all to see some of the great art and print and materials that we've got. So if you know somebody who needs to be in that mix and needs to be a vendor this year because you want to buy all their things, this is a great opportunity for them to get in front of a sea of master naturalists. Still going, our TMN curriculum bulk order. I'll have more information in your inbox in August, but start thinking about the bulk order that you may or may not need, and using the annual meeting as a chance to pick up a bulk order of curriculum, saving you on shipping costs. And then Michelle, these last couple slides are on you, or some stuff that you've got.
Yep. So we have, as you know, our VMS is going through some updates and a changeover. So this is just a little early reminder to keep your members' information updated, especially on their milestone awards. This is where we will pull information for the annual meeting, for people to be for registrants of the annual meeting to be recognized at the annual meeting. So as your volunteers or your members are reaching these awards, please update the information on the milestones as soon as possible. The timing of what I'm learning about the timing of the move and consolidation of our VMS and these awards for the annual meeting, they could collide. So it'll be best to have all of this information as up to date as possible, as early as possible. Last note there. So on the milestones, just a reminder that we will be at the annual meeting for people who register to attend the annual meeting. We will be awarding any milestone that registrant has received from about the time of the annual meeting last year to up to September 29th this year. So that will, if someone has reached that milestone within that time frame over the past year, we will recognize that registrant at the annual meeting. And another, while it's heating up outside and getting hot, now's a good time to begin gathering your photos for the annual meeting. This is the photo request that Donna Cole usually puts together for the scrolling video, or the video of each of your chapter's photos. We're asking again for 10 photos, just 10 photos from your chapter from the past year. And now's just a great time to be gathering those photos together and readying them into a folder for when the call to submit those comes. We're expecting that in late July, August, but just now's a great time to be collecting those photos. There are some format notes there, no PowerPoint presentations. We'd like to have these as actual photos. Anything, please make sure the photos are over, when a megabyte in size is a good test to have. And then some notes there from Donna. Captions are fine if they're embedded in the photo, and then make sure that they're JPEG files with full resolution, not compressed, but cropping is fine. So, and we'll have more information about how to submit those, or where to submit those in the next meeting.
Okay, and then closing out this president's meeting with some chapter resources and a VMS update. Our state website is the kitchen sink, as we call it, of all the things. So this is where we encourage you and your members to start. Michelle and Hannah and I try to keep that website as updated as possible with all the things like how to sign up for the listserv, where our Facebook and Instagram page are to get those early access communication notes from the state office when it comes to the annual meeting. The VMS help desk is also linked in there as well. And then Michelle, all the VMS updates. You've got what, 3 slides of these?
Yeah, real quick, I had a question asking about the annual meeting. So Rosalia asks, will the folks who have reached milestone awards that will be recognized at the meeting have to be present at the meeting in order to be recognized there? They have to be registrants of the meeting. Whether or not they choose to come up on the stage to be recognized, that's their choice. But they do have to be registrants of the annual meeting. So we're not able to recognize every master naturalist that has reached every milestone over the past year. That would take probably 7 hours to do at the annual meeting. But we recognize registrants of the annual meeting at the annual meeting. Okay, jumping back to the VMS. So for months, I've been telling you we've been meeting, and I feel like nothing's been happening. And then all of a sudden, bam, things have started happening. In this past month, there's been several changes to the administrative back end of VMS. Last month, I talked about us updating the TMN certification status fields. We talked about that last month. VMS update alert was sent out to all of our VMS admins in May. So that's been in process for the past month. New things that have taken place over the past month or so. Admins, if you are a true VMS admin at the local level, you will have noticed that the add and delete member or applicant button has been removed, and that is in preparation for our move and consolidation. That will not be coming back, and the expectation is that new trainees or new volunteers will have to create their own TMN VMS profile, and this is a security measure, and it will also helps reduce errors in the profile and duplicates in the system. So that is something that's taken place. Another item that has taken place, if you're an admin in the system, you've noticed that after about 15 minutes, the automatic logout has been shortened from what it was 30 minutes to 15 minutes. Again, that's another security measure. So if there's no activity, if you're already logged into the system as an admin, this doesn't affect volunteers entering hours on the other end user of the system. But as an admin, if you're logged in and you haven't been active in the system for 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes, it will auto log you out, and then you'll have to log back in. It's kind of frustrating. It's just because I kind of keep it up on my desktop all day long, and it keeps logging me out after 15 minutes if I'm not in it. So know that that's happened, and if you kind of work that way, you've already seen that take place. One of the big things we've been working on is getting the master naturalist roles that are in there for our admins set and created for each of our chapters. So there's 3 different roles. Those 3 different roles had to be created and then multiplied by 49 for each of our chapters. And that part of the process has been done. So the roles have been created, they're readied, and they're ready for move and consolidation with the main Texas Parks and Wildlife account. As a chapter admin, this really doesn't affect you yet until we're actually moved and consolidated. And that's the next step. So the next step is moving and merging us in with the Parks and Wildlife, the rest of the Parks and Wildlife system. On this time, we've been in our own instance. And one of the changes that will happen when this move and consolidation takes place is that we call it life without folders. So when I log in, because I'm a higher user than what maybe each of our local chapter admins are, I see probably 40 to 55 different folders. That view for me will change. As a chapter admin, you may only see at this time 3 or 4 folders. And for an admin, that view is going to be changing. You'll see maybe only 2 folders, which everybody can see at that time. So for chapter admin, that won't be a huge change. Seeing less folders won't be a huge change for you. Chapters will use new grids and filters to organize the info versus the being organized in folders that it was in before. I've seen this in another account that an agency demoed with me, and it's pretty straightforward. If you're using grids and filters, you are using grids and filters already in the system, so it's just using more grids and filters to organize data. We've been told that the move, since now that we're ready with the roles, we are ready for the move and consolidation. However, my frustration with working with this company is they never give dates, and which does not allow me to plan and work with our chapters to orchestrate that change management. So I say soon with parentheses. We still have not been given dates, although we've been told we will be given as much advance notice as possible. I have not received that advance notice yet, but information and training will be provided as soon as we are made aware. So that covers kind of the changes that we've seen in the VMS system and a little bit of what we know coming up so far. Some other changes. VMS training, at the VMS training and help desk, I have an update for you there. We have one member that is asked to retire and step down for a little bit. And it kind of happens to be Clyde, and he does a lot of our training. But it kind of happens at a good time because we are in this changeover of the system, and we'll be needing to change our training. So due to Clyde's stepping down and all of our training changing here probably shortly, we do have a moratorium on VMS training at this time. So certainly July and August, we will not be providing trainings for setting up new logins or anything like that at this time. If you have an emergency, something like you suddenly lose all of your admins at your local chapter level and you have to set up brand new people, contact the VMS help desk for emergencies. For most chapters, there are 3 or more, maybe between 1 and 3 admins. So I expect those emergencies to be few and far between. For our general users, end users, our volunteers, using the system to enter hours. At this time, again, nothing is changing on that end for our reporting volunteers. Proceed with entering hours as normal. So next slide. Now I feel like I'm the one taking all the talking all the time.
It's okay. And for those that have to leave us here at 1 o'clock, we will put this recording on the website tonight, if not first thing tomorrow morning. So please know that we will share this recording.
Yep.
All right, keep going.
Next phase. So what's next? After our account is moved and consolidated, this is what we have been told we need to anticipate. And so I'm going to tell you now, the rumors are, I've heard in our meetings, October through December timeframe thrown around. Again, my frustration with this company is no dates are ever given. We anticipate, so we are anticipating a similar application entry process into the system. There will be some application updates. We're looking at that coming in August. But how a volunteer enters the system now, not much is changing there. There will be a couple of waivers that are updated, but there's not a lot being changed there. So that process will stay, I expect it to stay the same. Also coming up is the development and implementation of what the company calls onboarding. And onboarding is an opportunity for us to add some mini training modules for our volunteers. So our volunteers would work through just a few kind of need to know, maybe it'd be videos or slide presentations that would kind of get them, what I'm envisioning is some things being taking care of some of the basic information, things about the program, or our code of ethics and standards of conduct, having that as things they need to read as they're getting started in the system. So some mini trainings that we can kind of take care of as they're entering the system, or even before they come to training on the first day, kind of get some of that stuff out of the way. And it's standard across the system for all of our volunteers. One of the probably bigger changes for our members in this move and consolidation is that for new people, so for existing members in the system, like everything's going to be copied over and moved over for you already. But new members in the system, from a management perspective for new members, new trainees in the system, the opportunity signups are going to be an opt-in strategy versus the opt-out strategy that it is now. So new volunteers, new chapter members they'd kind of shop for your chapter's projects that they would be interested in helping on and sign up once they're already in, versus the chapter admin applying everything to their profile, to their opportunity drop-down box, and them opting out as they try to sift through that, sometimes hundreds of opportunity listings in the drop-down. So that's one thing coming. Other updates, after the move and consolidation, they'll be developing and implementing an org module. I'll explain more on the org module later, and once we have more information. And then they'll also be developing and implementing what's called prerequisites. So it's, and the best way I can describe that is some if-then movements through onboarding. So let's say if a volunteer is, if a member is a, let's say, treasurer in their chapter, they may receive a handling funds mini training to take. So that's something that will be built out in the future in the system. And then the last thing that I understand will be built in the system is MFA, multi-factor authentication, will be added for any chapter admin accessing the system. So the admins who manage your chapter's VMS at the local level, at the last part of this redesign and rebuild will be the implementation of the MFA in the system. So they'll just have to do a multi-factor authentication to get into the system. And I think that's a one time per day. So if they log into the system, if they log into the system multiple times a day, all they'd have to do is complete it once, is my understanding. And then moving on, some reminders. Again, I've been talking about these reminders for the past couple months. This is not a complete system rebuild and overhaul. We're simply receiving some Samaritan upgrades that were not available to us previously. And we're receiving the latest build of the Samaritan system. Our VMS team has been involved in weekly meetings. Those meetings have moved to 2 times per week now. Our VMS team has been and will be involved in providing input to the rebuild, and then later on testing. We will have training sessions for VMS admins and members when we know more and when the time comes, again, to be determined and announced. And then for existing members, the basic volunteer reporting experience we don't expect it to be too different from what you see now. And then a reminder for VMS admins, if you could help share this information, be watching this, as I mentioned, like this information could come fast. And so just the best way we have to communicate that out to our VMS admins is through our email group and the newsletters to the VMS admins. And so we will be sending those out as we learn more. So just be watching those.
Michelle, there's two quick questions in the chat from Mickey. During the switchover, will there be a period of time when entries will not be made available? So that is for Master Naturalist members to log their hours.
So I've asked that question, and the company expects the switchover to happen within a matter of hours. And so I'm guessing yes. There would be a specific time period where we'd ask chat members to not report, but also we would probably do that in the middle of the night when there's not many people trying to report anyways. So, but we will provide that communication, Mickey, and I'll try to, my hope is that we can get it during, it's not going to be like the end of the month when people are reporting. And so that's my hope anyways.
And then last one is, will we be able to opt in at any time or just at the beginning of the trainee process? And I don't understand that question.
So the opt-in versus opt-out of opportunities, as a member, you can opt into any, so you can go back and opt in if you've opted out of, let's say, like in the world now, in the VMS world now, VMS admins apply new opportunities to all members. If you have opted out of those, like you don't want to see them in your drop-down box anymore, and you've opted out of those previously, you can go back and opt in. With the switchover, though, everything that you're already have in your drop-down box, that is going to be, if you're an existing volunteer in the system, that is going to be copied and moved over into the consolidated system. So things shouldn't change for you there, but you can you can opt in and you can opt out of opportunities at any time, all the time. The process of how we assign opportunities to new members will be changing for the admins, but still they can opt in and opt out of opportunities at any time, even if that process changed in the new system. Okay, another item. I have a request. I've been going through our federal aid report, a quarterly report. Just got it done last night and submitted. And so I just have one request to help with some of that reporting. And I'd like to ask you as leaders of your chapter, anything that any project opportunity, any chapter meetings, any advanced trainings that you have influence over, you bring, offer, or present to your chapter, anything that your chapter leadership kind of provides. If you could please help with providing guidance on reporting to your general membership. So an example of that, I have that for you down here today. So an example of providing that guidance, as chapter presidents, you get service time for attending this meeting today or viewing it later. And so kind of my guidance to you is you would report this meeting today as chapter business. The project category would be chapter and program business administration, president's duties, and then the service description would be the June presidents and advisors meeting with the state office. So if you can help provide any clarity to your members on how to report what they're attending, whether it be chapter meetings. One thing I see a lot is a combination of your chapters are having chapter meetings along with an advanced training presentation. So it might help your members if you put up a slide at some point in the beginning of that meeting today saying, here's how you report your time for today. Let's say 0.25 hours is chapter meeting. report 0.25 hours to chapter meeting as service, and then report, let's say if it's a total hour, 0.75 hours as advanced training, topic, the title, topic, and the presenter. So that's one thing I'd like to start with and ask your chapter to help with clarifying how general members may report some of the service time.
For the sake of time, Michelle, I'm going to let you answer the 2 questions in the chat. I do have a hard stop right now, so we're going to like speed through these last 3 slides. So I really apologize for everybody, but Michelle will answer in chat. AgriLife LearnStar, we have some new shirts back in stock. Our TMN license plate, you guys have seen all these slides before. We have 687 total plates sold. That is a new number for this group. That is as of Q2 of 2024. We need to get to 800 to get our $8,000 deposit back, which would help us to generate funds in the license plate fund. It's great to see those out and about on the roadways. Our endowment, somebody asked in the chat where our endowment's at. It sits right at now at about $125,000 to $140,000, and our endowment is a snowball that we are putting those generated royalties from the endowment, not royalties, the generated funds from the endowment are being put back into that fund to build that snowball, so to say. Thank you to everybody who has given and invested time and energy into the endowment and talking about it. Really appreciate that. And then some last reminders to share with your membership. Your Master Naturalist title, your chapter name, and your program chapter membership should never be used in connection with advocacy or to invoke policy. Your TMN title and certification should never be used for personal gain or profit. These are some standard reminders, but something that came up over the last couple of months. And so we just want to make sure that it is reiterated with our chapter presidents to share that with you, our chapter members. And then Hannah has a gentle reminder, the TMN logo and title are trademarked. Texas Master Naturalist and the Dragonfly. You must seek state approval, state office approval when adding them to chapter t-shirts, merchandise, flyers, etc. That's part of the reason why Hannah is creating the templates. Those are easy, pre-approved design aspects that then your information can be added into. But anything else beyond those standard templates that Hannah has will need to have her approval, our state office approval for use. That is to help us maintain our trademark accuracy. And then last but not least, and thank you, Lisa, for dropping this in the chat earlier, the North Texas chapter and the DEI committee with Capital Area, Balcones Canyonlands, Elm Fork, and North Texas have been working on a diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility project. They are developing a Google Drive for Spanish resources, and there is a link to that Google Drive. Hannah, if you will drop that link in the chat, I believe it was posted up earlier in the chat. We will also make it available on our website alongside this recording that I will get up later this evening, if not first thing tomorrow morning. And with that, I do need to leave the house. I have to go pick up my kiddos. So we will see you guys again July 9th for our joint TMN Tuesday chapter presidents meeting, and then August 27th for our presidents meeting. Thank you, everybody, and have a cool July. We'll see you in a few weeks. All right. Okay, Michelle and Hannah, I'm out.